Hello, this is Dennis Clark here, the chairperson and spokesperson for the Workforce Subcommittee. I want to go over briefly here our meeting on Friday, October the 9th. We went via Zoom. We had 10 of our members in attendance. We started off by actually going over the advising for workforce. There's been a discussion. There's already a subcommittee in place for that. Pretty much we had a discussion over some of the different issues again, like 9-month contract faculty having to advise over the summer, having to advise over breaks, and then also having issues with advising, putting people in the wrong degree plans, and some of the different issues that we come upon with the advising area. And then some of the issues we have with lack of compensation for the extra time involved with advising the students. And so we recognize there's another committee that's going to actually speak to these, and some of the members of our committee are on that committee. We just decided to have a discussion to voice concerns to make sure that that is gone over again. We had a discussion over social distancing while teaching many of our labs. There's been some major changes with the Child Development Center since parents aren't allowed in. We have a lot of different labs in areas such as the healthcare professions where we end up having to be closer than 6 feet apart. And in that discussion, we found out that if we had to have labs and we had to come in closer to students to where students had to get closer to one another, that we could go through Frank Patterson, and he did have some N95 masks for us to be able to use to increase safety when we cannot do social distancing for some of our courses. The big one here was actually talking about Z-Pod times. So many of the Z-Pods that are offered for education to us on campus are always set at times like at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning when we're having to teach, say, a skills lab over in the Sim Center. Or they're scheduled for 2 o'clock on a Wednesday when we're having to teach a lecture course, and so we're not able to make these. And we've decided to bring it forward to Faculty Council to have a further discussion on it, and maybe some type of resolution going forward and up to administration about changing this and actually looking at maybe either recording these or putting a lot of these Z-Pods online, having the information there. We're already teaching online. Why can't they do this with the Z-Pods and actually do like we do to prove attendance and have like a test to actually prove that you actually sat there and listened to the Z-Pod and learned something and then actually get credit for it. Another thing we discussed was embedding or designating success coaches to work within workforce. There would be some advantages here as far as better exposure and familiarity to our students, along with understanding the unique challenges of the nursing program. And so not all students are equal across campus, and so there's a lot of different things that go on with our workforce students that are different than, say, the students in arts and sciences. And having some of the success coaches understand not only the work life or student life balance, I should say, as far as the learning and students having to work. And we have a lot of older students that are coming back into our programs that have families and all the demands with that and full-time jobs and stuff. But also it's the schedules. It's the fact that if you go into the nursing program, they're having to do just not academic classwork, but they're also having to go do clinical rotations, and that, and same thing with a lot of our different areas here where they're actually having to not only have a job, but they're actually having to go out to and work during times doing these practicums, and the additional workload that's put onto it when they're out doing an internship or an externship someplace. So we have a lot of unique challenges there, and we think it would be a good idea to at least have a discussion about embedding success coaches within some of these or having them more familiar with us. Another thing that came up was looking into funding for professional development. Some programs have had it in the past, especially in our workforce faculty, and some do not, and so it's trying to maybe line out a way that we can actually have some funding that would actually help with meeting some of the professional licensing and certification courses that we need, or looking at some of these CE experiences that would actually broaden our knowledges in the field. And some of these can get quite expensive. And so while we know there's some funding out there, it's maybe trying to come up with a more even way of actually trying to do this funding, or maybe not even a more even, but a more equitable way, or some way that we can actually make it to where all divisions within workforce are somewhat equal in doing this. We also discussed having librarian on the loose. I know out here at the Highlander Ranch, we have a librarian that comes out on a regular basis. Some programs actually had that and were aware of it. Some programs in workforce were not and did not even know that existed. So maybe it's working with the library and the librarian on the loose and trying to get more involvement with the workforce programs there. Lastly, we decided to set our meetings for the second Friday of each month for this year, and then we made some adjustments. We're not going to have a meeting in December. Second Friday is during spring break in March, so we're going to move to the third Friday. And that is it for the Workforce Subcommittee.